This an all-out blitz, real hard hits, them other podcast trash, we gon' make them all quit. We cover all the topics with intelligence and logic. I know you wanna score, but ID gon' stop it. We from Texas, so that mean that we Texans. Breaking down the X's and O's, our profession. No complaining, just training, you see the progression. They had a Pro Bowl for talk shows, we get selected. We gon' celebrate every win like a birthday. Ray J with the news, first with all the updates. Spin move on the competition, yeah, we juking them. You not really in touch if you not tuning in. This is Crenshaw, Briggs VT. We want the touchdown, we not trying to go for 3. And it's best if you get up out the street, cause them bulls out the pen and they bout to stampede.
Houston Texans, what up?
What up?
What up?
What up?
What up?
What up?
Hey!
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Texans Fan Battle Podcast. I'm your host tonight, Matthew Briggs. As always, I got my amazing trio, but we're down one. He's driving up to Kansas City to spend the draft with me, so he's taking a quick nap so he can rest up for the drive. So we will be missing Crenshaw. But so right now, it's the dynamic duo of Mr. VT and myself. So what's up to the folks?
What's going on, guys? Happy draft eve.
Yeah, but it is time. It's the night before the draft. Everybody's probably putting on the Kevin Costner draft day, getting ready. Just sprinkle some magic dust, hoping this comes true, especially for Texan fans. Well, let's get into some stuff. Let's kick it off some NFL news. Why don't we? Well, as you can see, Daniel Jeremiah just dropped a final mock draft. Like we said, our days before the draft. So, BT, I kick off for you. What stands out to you in this draft?
Well, obviously, the fact that we're getting a quarterback is the number one thing that stands out. With all the news that we have been saying, all off seasons, particularly in the last 2 weeks, that it didn't look like we're going to get a quarterback, that we were either going to get Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson. And the fact that we get a quarterback, but here it looks like we trade up to the number 3 spot. So we're trading with Arizona to get Will Anderson. And so getting a quarterback and Will Anderson would be crazy. Now, the thing to remember is that we would have to give up at least 2 first-round picks for this. So we would be giving up some crazy good capital. But if they believe that that's the right choice, so we can get a quarterback and an edge, 2 of the most important positions in football, then fine, do it. What I have been most concerned about was not getting a quarterback this draft. So if we're getting a quarterback, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Man, that's a power move, right? I mean, you gotta take a risk, right? You gotta take a gamble, and what a hell of a gamble! Just give it this year's 12, and next year's Cleveland, because you never know with Cleveland. They be good, they can be bad,
right?
So give them. Well, hell, I mean, if you're banking on a gamble, you can give them Mars. Hopefully, within the shit division that we are in, there's a chance that we can be a 7-2-9-10 9-win team. So, and we play the NFC South, and we play the fourth place team. So, competition level is not very high. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can do.
There is a lot of stuff you can do, and what I find interesting here is that not only do we get a quarterback and an edge, but the Colts get Levis. So a lot of people were mocking Levis to us. Which I know a lot of fans did not like. So the Colts get Levis. I'm sure the Colts fans are deciding whether or not they're going to start eating mayonnaise or not. And so now you have an issue where we may come out of this draft where everyone was crying, including me. So I'm going to include myself into that category. Coming out of this draft being happy. Now, do I think this is actually going to happen? I don't know. But you got to imagine Daniel Jeremiah is quite connected. I don't know if he would just put this out there just for shits and giggles. So, if he's putting this out there, he's got to be hearing that we're at least thinking about it. My view for much of the offseason was that I believe that ownership would get involved and get us a quarterback because they know how much a quarterback is necessary to fill up those seats, how much a quarterback is necessary to function as a team. And even if Nick Casario didn't believe in a quarterback, that I believe ownership would stomp their foot in the way that they stomped their foot in for the head coach search. So that has been my belief the whole offseason. Now I don't know if this is the result of that or if this is what the plan was all along. That I don't know. But all I know is if this happens, man, I'll be popping some champagne. I gotta tell you.
Look, I know you're high on the owner stepping in. Which, I can see that. But I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm going to say it's D'Amico Ryan stepping in. I think D'Amico Ryan is just going to put his input in this draft because this is his first draft. This is what's going to set pace for the rest of his career. So he's going to have to come in strong. You're right. We need a quarterback. We need edge. So I can see him saying, "Hey, look, Nick, we got to get a quarterback. No interest, but I don't care if it's not Bryce Young. I don't care what it is. We need a quarterback, and I don't mind if they take Will Anderson at 2, and they go get Will Levis at 12. Would I want it? No, but would I mind it? I wouldn't mind it because we need a quarterback. Davis Mills is all I got to say.
I couldn't agree more with that. The other thing that I found interesting here is, in addition to what we are talking about, but did you see that Nolan Smith is now is in the top 10? That's what he's mocking to the Eagles. So I was thinking that the Eagles would go Bijan, but they have the Falcons going Bijan, which makes a ton of sense, right? The Falcons run more than any other team besides Chicago. And, Cordell Patterson, obviously, they can't rely on him now. So, so you think that, if Bijan is gone, that the Eagles might get Nolan Smith. I had thought that, hey, what about Christian Gonzalez or even another corner? But Daniel Jeremiah thinks that Nolan Smith could be their pick. And now he's moved quite a bit from what we saw from after combine. I think he did a 4.39, right? So he definitely shocked the world with his 40, his athletic ability. And to see him become a top 10 prospect, if this happens, would be quite interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, I had Nolan Smith up that high too. I didn't say 10 because I don't think the Falcons go Bijan Robinson. I think the offense wasn't really the problem last year. It's more defense. So I think I had them picking Devin Witherspoon, but he has it different. He has Witherspoon going to the Lions. So who knows? I mean, it's a nice mock draft. Especially for the Colts. Like if the Colts pick Will Levis at 4, I'm happy. Because I think he's going to be a good prospect, but not 4. I don't think he's a top 10 prospect. That's my only thing on him.
Right, and the other thing to note here is because Tyree Wilson was mocked to us at 2, right, and so to see that Will Anderson's getting mocked to us as 3, and then see Tyree Wilson drop. There was some news earlier today that we know that about his injury past, but apparently his medicals. Some of the information came out, and it came out that it looks like there's some lingering issues and that it could affect him. Now the fact that he's still in the top 10 proves just how much people still believe in him. But if you were talking Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson, that was a pretty good debate because some people believe that Will Anderson really got to that top 5 spot because of scheme. Because a lot of times, if you look at different highlights or if you look at actually full games, you would see that he was just unblocked a lot, and he seemed to benefit from that. Now, the thing about it is, he was not unblocked 200 pressures worth, right? So was he schemed up to get some of those sacks? Was he schemed up for those pressures? For some, yeah, but 200. I mean, the guy has the most pressures, more than any other in college in Alabama, right? So you cannot say that it was just because of scheming alone. Did he benefit from it though? Yeah, I do think he benefited from that. And so I hope that, throughout this draft, if we do trade up for Will Anderson, we get him the pieces he needs to actually do what he needs to do. So, we can't expect just to get Will Anderson and not give him the support he needs. We've got to have a nose tackle out there. We're going to have to give him that support. We're going to have to get a defensive tackle. So getting Will Anderson isn't enough throughout this draft. If you get him, you're going to have to get defensive tackles and
I think right for this year, I think I agree with you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
that's fine.
But I agree with you. But I think Rankin would be a good fill-in gap right now until we can focus that maybe on next year. But I agree with you. You got to give him another piece. You got to give him a linebacker. You got to give him a good mic. Like you got to get somebody to call the audibles. You got to get somebody to run the defense and the coverage, right? I mean, what's the biggest play in the NFL right now? Tight ends.
Yeah.
You got great tight ends. So you have to have somebody who can cover the tight ends greatly to help Will Anderson come off the edge. So I agree with you. You got to get them the right pieces.
Yeah, and speaking of tight ends, so I know this is not in this mock here, but um, how's your view changed on whether we pick a tight end? Whether that's in the second or in the third. There are some there's some great tight ends here. It's no mystery who I like. I like Darnell Washington. He's my favorite.
I was
But I
about to
don't.
say I've seen a lot of mock drafts of us picking him at 33. Which
I take it. I mean, I want JMS. I want the center, right?
it's
But
sexy, right? I would say it was a sexy pick at 33. But is it a need at 33? I think center is more of a center and linebacker, right? I mean, that's the two that's a little bit more pressing is those two.
I agree. And now the thing is that there are four good centers in this draft. They may believe, and I'm not saying I would do this necessarily, but they may believe that having another tight end would give CJ Stroud enough great dump offs, right?
Right,
You need those
right.
dump offs, you need those playmakers. And at the same time, if you get Darnell Washington, you can improve the run game dramatically because you would have him lining up to block, right? So he can block for the run, and then Dalton is also there, but Dalton, as good as he is blocking linebackers and space and stuff, he's not going to necessarily be able to stop those edges. He could block linebackers and stuff, but an edge, most tight ends can't. Darnell Washington has that size and speed and athleticism to do it. 6'7". I mean, like he's huge. Pause, and he could get the job done.
Sorry, that made me laugh.
It was the pause, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but the only scary thing is, I can see a high possibility of all four of those great centers. Well, except Ricky Stromberg. I think he's going to be a great late round pickup for a team, just like Lindstrom for the Ravens and the guy that Jaguars got, that center, slipping my mind. But I think that, but I think the other three will be taken in the second round. I think they're that great, and the need for center is very high this year. I can see them getting the second round.
Now, let me ask you a question. So, say if we do some of these earlier sexy picks, if we get a tight end there, we're not getting a linebacker early on. What would you think of Devon Overshown getting him as a Mike? Now, he's a little undersized for what you want in a Mike in terms of both height and weight, but I think he has a skill set to drop in coverage. I think he could work in a D'Amico defense. What do you think about him?
I actually have us in a couple mock drafts picking him. I like him. You can also get like the linebacker draft is pretty high in my opinion, right? You can get Overshown in the third round, and possibly a Henley in the fourth or fifth, or Ivan Pace out of Cincinnati, real good. So you can get one or two linebackers, right? And it's tested. who's going to be the Mike, win the job, you know?
Right.
Because I said this, I think this this linebacker, this defense class is stacked. So I don't know, man. We can hope, right?
We can hope. I mean, what I want to say also is I think a lot of Max wants overshowed as well. Well, I know a lot of Texans fans think that because we got Denzel Perryman that he's a lock. But let's remember that they haven't got rid of Kirko. So they obviously don't know what Perryman can do. Also remember that Perryman, if you look at career wide, if you compare him to Kirko, they almost have almost the exact same from a stat perspective, exact same career. So
Can't stay healthy.
yeah, they can stay healthy, but they have the same like number um, of sacks. They look the same in some instances. Like now, obviously, Perryman is much better than Kirko. When I say look the same, I mean there are times because of times that he's not been able to stay healthy on the field, come back, that he's not great in coverage. Now, in his best year, like I believe it was 2018, he looked amazing. There's no doubt in my mind that if we could get him to perform like he did in 2018, way better. But he's not a lock, in my opinion, to be that Mike.
No.
And I believe that's the reason why they're keeping Kirko on board is because they don't know what Perryman we're going to get. Are we going to get the 2018 Perryman? Are we going to get what he's been in the last couple of years? And so I think that obviously doesn't change the draft board. So I think a Mike, getting a Mike in the fourth or later, or wherever we get in the draft is going to be an option. Because if we do get Will Anderson, like we've both been saying, you got to get the regular pieces. If you're not getting those pieces, he's not going to be able to do his job, and he's not going to look great.
So before we move on, I got a quick question from YouTube. What are the Texans giving up to move up to 3?
So it's going to have to be at least 2 first-round picks. That means that you're giving up your 12th overall and your 24th first-round pick. So you're giving up 2 firsts there, and it could possibly be even a little bit more. But that's what the minimum I would say would be is 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, I would not give. I wouldn't give him the 5th we got from Dallas. I mean, that might be a little splash in there. I mean, you got 12 picks this year. So I mean, you're not going to use all of them. You can use some of the trade up. The 7s, the 6s. You can use that and trade up to the 5th. So I don't mind it if the price is right, but I do not want a Chicago and Carolina trade. I do not want a one-sided affair, which I don't think it will be.
I mean, let me tell you my personal opinion. Like, if this happens, it happens. I mean, it's all right, but I wouldn't do it if I was a GM because, in my opinion, listen, there's 34 edges in this draft. I think this is the most amount of edges in the past 2 decades. So to actually give up 2 firsts in order to get Will Anderson, in my opinion, is far too much in this draft. I think you have to let coaches coach, and you got D'Amico for a reason. You gutted the entire coaching staff for the most part and replaced them with new coaches in order to actually be able to develop players. So if you stayed where you were and you got Van Ness, for example, at 12, or you even traded down and got Van Ness at the 15th, 16th spot, and I'm not saying that Van Ness is a Will Anderson, but with the right players around him, with the right coaching, with the right development, he could get there one day. People have called him the baby J.J. Watt. He doesn't have all the pass rush moves nailed down right away, but he's fast. He's got the power. He's got violent hands. So he has, the raw traits. He just needs that development.
Yeah, I can see him falling to the 2nd round, just because the needs of other teams are going to make them overpick. So I think he does fall to the 2nd round. Would I mind him at 33? No, I think that's a steal at 33, right? But
yeah,
the only thing is, man, I really want a center. If we don't go to center in the 2nd round, possible 3rd round, like if JMS is there in 3rd round, was I highly. I'm
Yeah,
like
highly doubt.
99% sure he's not going to be. But if he is, all day. I mean, that's an easy pick, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
it's a no-brainer.
but if you don't pick him, yeah, you have to go Ricky Stromberg. I think that dude's just. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him,
Yeah, I think so
but
too. I
but
mean, I think the problem with Ricky is that he's a bit inconsistent. I think that's why they have him as low as he is because from the size perspective and from when he's good, he's freaking fantastic. So, and again, this is another case where you also now have to trust the new scheme that you're putting in place and the new coaching that you have.
well,
You know,
I think the biggest knock on too was the his pass blocking,
right?
but Arkansas is not known for passing. They don't run very great routes. Um,
Not at all, actually.
yeah, it's pretty much hey, you run around in circles and we'll see what happens. Now the running game, which he excels at, is what they're known for.
Right.
So I you gotta go back to what you said, right? Let coaches coach, right? Scheming fixes everything. Zone blocking for a rookie center would be fantastic for him.
I agree. The one thing though is, and I wouldn't get mad if we take Ricky and we pass over JMS. I prefer JMS. In my post earlier, I said the two players aside, like not talking about the second overall pick. We didn't have this mock earlier today. So when I said, my two players that I'm looking forward to aside from the second overall pick, it was JSN and I was expecting to get him at 12 and get JMS at 33. Those are the two players that I would like to see if this mock didn't happen, if we stayed, basically where we were. So, I really do want JMS. However, what I would say is that we need to get someone that, in my opinion, doesn't need a tremendous amount of development. So I'm somewhat going to contradict what I just said a moment ago, only because of Kenyon Green. Kenyon Green needs someone out there that isn't just learning everything over the ropes. He's going to be right next to him, and you need someone that he can help. So someone can help him too. Like they've got to be a team out there. You're also so think about this, right? You're gonna have Kenyon Green that's still learning, right? He had a terrible season last year. You have Larry Tunsil, who is a beast, and arguably the second best left tackle. I say he is the second best left tackle in the league. And then you're gonna have
Arguably first. I mean,
arguably the first.
right.
And you have a center, that's going to be a rookie. And we're going to have a new right guard. Now it's a top 10 right guard, but he's new for us. So there's a lot of movement on the O line compared to last year, and if you have someone like with JMS. That I believe is the best center in this draft. Some people have Tipman. I believe it's JMS. I say JMS or Tipman because I want to have Kenyon Green actually succeed. I've shit on Kenyon Green, and it's not because I don't like him, obviously, as a person or anything like that. It's because I thought that he basically performed terrible. He didn't perform where his draft spot was. Now, we've all seen other players perform well in the O line after a couple of years. I'm hoping that it doesn't take Kenyon Green another year. I'm hoping that Kenyon Green could step up this year, especially if we draft a quarterback. We draft a quarterback. We have Kenyon Green and JMS can be just halfway decent. They don't have to be, all pros here. But if they can be just halfway decent, we can get some real offense. We can actually move the ball. That was our biggest problem. We have to be able to put up more than 17 points a game. That's mandatory. So if we can get our O-line functioning, perhaps that's possible.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah, I agree with you. But the only objectable thing I can say, and it's not bad, right? Shaq Mason, you're right. Top 10, top 5, arguably. I think that's going to bring a lot of improvement, not just to the offensive line, but to Kenyon Green. He's a guy who can take him under his wing. AJ Cann did what AJ Cann could do, right? He was a perfect stopgap guy. Good run, but horrible in passing, just like Kenyon Green was. Good in run. Well, boy, was he horrible in passing. So I think Shaq Mason can help take Kenyon Green under the wing. And also, what a lot of people fail to realize is the center learns from both the guards, too.
Mm.
So he's helping out the center as well. And also, if you have another thing is Kenny Green got hurt a lot too because of the center position. His play last year fell tremendously when your boy Quesenberry was in there.
My
So,
boy.
so get rid of that problem. Yes, you got a new guy, but man, zone blocking is such a line friendly scheme that I think it's going to be a lot better than that last year. I mean, I think it's going to be tough. Which our line wasn't completely terrible, but I think it's going to be a lot better. A lot better.
It was weird because there were definitely games where the line was actually okay, and then there were games where the line was just absolutely atrocious. That Eagles game. Now, obviously, the Eagles have last year had one of the best defenses in the league, but that line against the Eagles was basically it was impossible. As much as I shit on Davis Mills, there was nothing he could do on that Eagles game. He literally there's no way that he could honestly he performed better than he could have for that Eagles game, um, because of what he had to deal with. So the line is important, and obviously you have to imagine that Casario and D'Amico know this, right? Bobby Slowick knows this, so that you have to imagine they realize this. The real question is where are they going to prioritize that? When you get a new quarterback, let's for this assumption right now we're pretending or not pretending, but assuming that we get CJ Stroud, that you also probably have to get a receiver somewhere. Now, if this mock is true, you don't have the 12th overall pick anymore. You traded up. So do they prioritize a receiver, at 33? Because now you're talking about 65. Do they get the receiver at 65? Is Mingo even available at 65? I don't know. Do they wait and get A.T. Perry? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I would love. I mean, dude, like Max said, yeah, this is a deep receiver draft as edge. Man, I love Mingo. I love Mims. I love Tillman, Perry, Slovia. Like I can go on. Like I love a lot of these receivers. Pause. But man, that's just too many to decide. Uh, but like, I hate you asking these questions, man. It's just I don't know what to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like the best we need weapons. Yeah, we got Mechie coming back. Thank God. I'm happy to say he finally recovered from leukemia, is back on the field. But he's a question mark, right?
Right.
You don't know. Robert Woods, he looked horrible last year because of that injury. So a question mark. Nico Collins, question mark. So right now you got 3 question marks as starters.
Yeah.
So right now the only for sure weapon you got is Dalton Schultz and Pierce, if but you got. I mean, you got to get a receiver. I think 4 is the cutoff. 4th round is the cutoff. Like I mean, there's some good sleepers in the later rounds, but you got to get a receiver before the 4th round. If you don't get one at 12.
So a little shout out to my boy C Royal from H Town Rundown. He always brings up that we need speed, right? So C Royal, if you're watching, I agree with you. We need speed. I think that if the trade that we see here happening, there's no chance you get Zay Flowers, Zay Flowers is his favorite wide receiver.
He's mine too.
But if this trade happens, there's no way, right? Because Zay is going in the 1st round, anywhere between the 12th and say the 25th. Like that's his range. That's his 10-spot range. So if this trade happens, we have no chance in hell of getting Zay. So you need to get speed. Now we've got Tank Dell, right? So
That's another one. I like him. Rice. I mean, he's a somewhat of a speedster. Man, dude. The list goes on, right? I mean, it's crazy.
The list goes on, but in terms of speed, let's just focus on speed though. Like who do you think can be that speedy receiver?
Outside of Flowers, I gotta agree with you on Tank Dell, right? I mean, and who Perry? Perry might be a little bit might be on that list. But other than that, I mean, Tank Dell and Flowers got to be top 2 speed guys.
I like Perry a lot. My issue with Perry, and it's not. I mean, listen, everyone develops, and or not everyone, but we're hoping that potential prospects, right? Prospects do develop. He does have a little bit of a drop issue. That would be my
Yes.
only knock on him.
Yes.
So that would be my issue with A.T. Perry. And Max is right. Mims
Yes.
is definitely on the list. I know you brought him up as well, but I do like Mims. And I forget who was the fastest receiver on the 40. I think it wasn't Perry. Do you remember? Because I forgot off the top of my head.
I thought it was Perry, but if it's not, I don't know.
So and then there's also Josh Downs that
Downs,
that
yeah.
people are sleeping on, and then you got the 24-year-old dude out of Purdue that no one is really talking about because he's 24 years old and he's out of Purdue. So I don't know what they're thinking in terms of who they want on that receiving core. Like as you said, there's question marks with Woods, there's question marks with Mechie. I honestly, as much as I hate to say it, listen, I've got my Nico Collins rookie jersey right here that's signed. Like, it's not like I hate the player or anything. I had big hopes for him when I saw that we drafted him because I watched a lot of Michigan games. And so I really thought that he was going to be our 2X, at that 6'4", over 200-pound receiver. But he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And, he hasn't had even 500 yards. And so he hasn't done much. I thought really that his rookie year alone, that we should have seen 7 touchdowns and about 7 to 800 yards because he was that red zone threat. That's what I believe. We haven't seen that for him. Unless he can stay healthy and show that, I don't know if he stays a starter. In fact, I don't know if anyone from that 2021 draft is an actual starter this year, especially if we do what I think we need to do in this draft. So if we just focus on Nico Collins, for example, like, do you think if we draft another receiver, say for example, Quentin Johnson drops and we get him, do you think that he actually has a shot at actually becoming a long-term starter, or is he going to be relegated to being a backup?
He can be turned into another Nico Collins, right? Like the guy that he was slated to be the DX, to be the main guy, and just be a third option. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I love Quentin Johnson, but he kind of has the same issues as Perry, right? Like his hands aren't there. So
Yeah.
so as I mean, you got 2 guys who have problems catching. Is that what you want?
I mean, the problem with Quentin Johnson, this is again, he would be your replacement for Nico Collins, right? If you got him, he's 6'3", 215 pounds. The issue with him is that he catches like he's 5'10", 5'11", right?
Catches
His
with the
catch
body a lot.
radius is not big. You would think that it's huge, but it's almost like if I'm out there, like I'm a short guy, and so he uses his chest a lot. He doesn't. If you see he's the opposite of Darnell Washington, right? Darnell Washington has a crazy catch radius, and Quentin Johnson does not. The thing is, on paper, Quentin Johnson is amazing. Play wise, he's not. So, to me, that would be a questionable pick because I don't think he's going to drop past a second. He's still a potential first rounder. So if they go and get him at the second, you obviously aren't getting your center. You're not getting a tight end. I don't know if he's worth that risk at the 33rd overall spot if he even drops there.
Right. So I did some research. I don't know if this is true or not, but the best I could find, it says Jordan Addison ran a 4.49 and Ronnie Bell ran a 4.54. So that's the 2 that's giving me the top of the 40. I don't think that's correct, but yeah.
Yep. So that takes us down to tight ends, receivers, centers. What other position are you excited to see? Because I think that we really haven't talked running backs because we have Damian Pierce.
I was about to say, BT, I'm about to piss off a lot of Texans fans. I know everybody. Look, would I love Bijan on his team? Absolutely. I think he is another coming Marshall Faulk. The dude can cut to the gap and go downtown, or he can catch out of the backfield. It's just a great all-around back. But come on, guys, Bijan at 2. Even if he's at 12, that's still a gamble, right? Like you need a lot more help on both sides of the balls. Both sides of the ball. Both sides of the ball. Or you go to 12 or 2 at Bijan. Like I don't think he's gonna fall to 33. So there's no chance. Now I tell you who I do. Big fan of this guy. Deuce Vaughn. You give him in the 5th, you give him in the 6th. Small dude, yes. But just like his former K-State player, Dan Sproles. Amazing catching out of the backfield. You can line him up in the slot. Great at running. I mean, the dude was a stud at K-State. And their offensive line wasn't that great. It was okay, but wasn't that great. So you can focus that position somewhere else. No, I don't go Bijan that high.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw my comments and my back and forth with Landry Locker, and shout out to Landry Locker from 610, and also he's got that YouTube channel. So me and Landry go back and forth all the time about certain things. So we were going back on Bijan, and for those of you that didn't listen to 610 today in the loop, so he was going on and he presented some good information about how that the current thinking of not drafting a running back in the first round is basically old thinking, that it doesn't make a lot of sense. And he presented information, and he also talked about some of the things where people say that you shouldn't ever sign a second contract with a running back. And he definitely brought up some good points on, why you shouldn't have that old view, because if you looked at the 49ers, for example, they got big, like as much as I like Brock Purdy and probably everyone else that's listening does, that, CMC did a lot of work in order to do that. Daniel Jones, he was, he's not the best quarterback, obviously, but, Saquon Barkley really led that offense. So, a powerful running back can change your entire offense. And I get that. I believe that. My comment, however, is that, well, we don't even have a Daniel Jones. We don't have a Brock Purdy. So to take him at 2 would be like, hey, we can get a Daniel Jones or a Brock Purdy, and so I exaggerate a little bit. Like for those that know, like I have a little issue with my blood levels. So I did say, listen, I know my blood levels are low, but I don't think I am auditory hallucinating. But I think I just heard Landry Locker say that we need Bijan at 2. And I really can't do that. I can't get down with Bijan at 2. I guess I could live with it at 12. I really don't want a running back in the first round, not with the rebuilding team. You expect him to say last around 6 years at his prime. And listen, for where we are, do you really want to take that much? Do you want to spend that draft capital on someone that potentially could only be here 4 to 6 years and not someone that can be here for 10 to 15?
Well, here's my thing too, V. I did a couple of research. You know how many running backs have stayed healthy in the first 2 seasons selected in the first round running backs?
Tell me.
Only one, Adrian Peterson. I mean, since Adrian Peterson. I mean, there's probably a couple back, but Adrian Peterson is the only one that's to stay healthy. I mean, Todd Gurley, career's ruined. McCaffrey, you don't. He had a hell of a year last year.
Right.
Comeback player of the year, but can't stay healthy.
Right.
Saquon Barkley can't stay healthy. I mean, there's a lot of I get it. It's a sexy pick, and I love it. But like Eric Gray, perfect guy to get. I can't think of his name. It was like Rocco Johnson or something. The backup for Texas. Great pickup. I think the third string running back for Texas is going to be a great running back. He just never got to see the field because Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys that we can get without getting up capital. So
I agree. I got a little a man crush on Izzy. I
yeah,
understand that he has, he's still got some development issues, right? He has to get better at vision. He's got to work on when he cuts, get up like that half a second late speed. But I believe those things are worked on. And the thing is, we wouldn't draft him to be the starter, right? Dameon Pierce is going to be the starter. You got Singletary also to help him out.
yeah.
So he could be an RB3 for a while until he gets up to speed, and then he can move up to that RB2 spot. And so, and I think that
Let's be honest. Singletary is just a gap guy, right? He's not here long term.
right.
Maybe a year, maybe two, but he's not the answer. So yeah, why not get a guy to learn under these two guys? You know what I mean? So, but like my boy for Haris on the AFC South, he has a good point. Running back is just not a value position anymore. I mean, you last year, prime example, we got a Pro Bowler in the 4th round.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find running backs anywhere. So I hate to say it, it's just not a need you need to spend on the 1st round.
Well, look at the Chiefs. They got, I call them Prosecco because it's easier
Yeah.
for me to remember because I like champagne because I was talking about it. But so they got Prosecco in the 7th round. And he was a major reason why they not only got to the Super Bowl, but won the Super Bowl. He's important and got him in the 7th round. Obviously, look at for us, Foster, right? I mean,
Undrafted.
so to think that you have to take, or even really considering that to take Bijan with our 2nd overall pick, when you are looking at possibilities of getting a running back later. I mean, we got Dameon Pierce in the 4th, right? So there's and I'm not just trying to throw one off anomalies here, but the thing is, we just have too many holes. And yes, would it be a great sexy pick? Yeah. If we were the Eagles, I would take them because you've got
heartbeat.
pretty much everything you need, But we have arguably 12 to 15 open spots on this roster, and you cannot spend the 2nd overall pick on a running back.
Well, before we move on in this great show, got a question from Max. He said Nick said he was open to trade within the AFC South. Do you think that is accurate? 110% is accurate. The only thing is that what people fail to realize is going to cost, like the Colts, they want to move it up to 2. It's going to cost them. It's going to cost them more than it will if the Vikings moved up. Well, I think it'd be the same because the Vikings are jumping from 23. But say the Raiders, it's going to cost the Colts more than it will the Raiders because you're a division, buddy. We're not giving you a discount.
Yeah, I agree that we would definitely trade in division. I think a lot of people have to realize if we're considering to drop out of that 2nd spot and give up taking either AR or CJ Stroud, that must mean that they don't believe very highly of them. So if they don't believe very highly of them, why wouldn't we trade in division? Because from Casario's mind, he would think, "Ha, I'm fooling you. You're going to have to pay to get a guy that I don't care about. So why not? Why wouldn't you trade in division?" And then like you said, you would charge them a little extra, and they'd be willing to pay it because they know, hey, it's an in division trade. So I think that is wide open. And as much as we talk Daniel Jeremiah's mock, I don't necessarily know if that's true. We could still walk away without a quarterback in the 1st round. Which is still very, very likely. The only reason why I wanted to really why I thought that it was worth discussing is because he's not a guy that just does stuff for clicks like you have a lot of other analysts out there. He puts a lot of thought behind him. He's a former scout himself, and so and he's got some inside information. So if he's putting a mock into that, he's got to have some information. But just think about it. At this point, I think everyone will agree that the Texans are. No one knows what the Texans are going to do. And so we could walk away without a 1st round quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised, even with this mock, I wouldn't be surprised if we walk away with either Hendon Hooker, DTR, Jaron Hall, another later round QB, and that we trade out of the second pick. We pick up, an edge, and we could still get Will Anderson, right? If trade that 2nd round, that 2nd overall pick, and we get a later round QB, and potentially ends up either being a stopgap or we think it's a diamond in the rough. That could still happen. That's in the cards.
Yeah, I want to. You're right. You're playing against whoever you pass for the next 10 or 15 years from Derek Bennett on Facebook. But just because he's a top 2 pick doesn't mean he's going to be a guaranteed, right? I mean, nothing's guaranteed in the draft. It's all a gamble. So why not gamble? Risk, right? A higher risk, bigger reward. So why not? I mean, everybody was upset that we didn't go quarterback when we drafted J.J. Watt. Jake Locker was there. I didn't want Jake Locker, of course. I thought he was a bum. Look what happened. He was a bum. So I think you do it. I mean, yeah, it's just a risk, but like we said before, you're trading in division, the price tags can go up.
Right.
So I mean, and that's best. So who knows, man? It's a lovely time to be the draft. So I'm excited, man. But before we kick it off, VT, let's do something. All right, man. We're gonna do 2 hot takes, and first one is gonna be: what do you think the Texans would do? What's a hot take the Texans do in this draft?
So I think I don't even know if it's necessarily a hot take, but what I'll say is that I think that we are going to break our record from last year. Last year, Nick Caserio had 4 draft day trades. And that was actually a franchise record. I think we beat that. I think that now that we have more capital, that we have 6 this year. I think he's going to go nuts with the trading up and down. I think he views himself as a wheeler and dealer. So I could see 6 draft day trades moving up and moving down this year. I know that sounds like a high number, but look at what he did last year, and I feel like he's going to do that this year.
All right. For the Texans, I believe we're going to go back into the second. Do it again. I would love to. You got so much great talent right there in the second round, especially if you can get in like the middle of the second, get 4 top 50 players. I'm just saying, be pretty nice. But that's my hot take. Now the next hot take, VT. Hot take for any team in the NFL draft. Anybody? What's your hot take?
This hasn't really been a mock from what I've seen, but I'm thinking that Levis falls and that the Titans draft him. I think that the Titans see, hey, yeah, we do have a lot of needs. They have Tanny, but Levis is a perfect project for them. They know that Tanny's only going to be there for a little while longer. You've seen the reports that they fell out of love with Malik Willis. They don't like him at all. And if he happens to drop, yeah, they could get a tackle, they could get a wide receiver, but what's more important than a quarterback? And if he falls, I see the Titans drafting Will Levis.
Well, I mean, he loves mayonnaise, so it's like a match made in heaven. So I agree with you there. So my hot take now, if this happens, I'm done with football because it's like a cheat code. But I think the Chiefs are going to trade up and pick Zay Flowers. You know how dirty that would be?
Yeah. That'd be crazy.
I just can't do it. Man, everybody's hating your Levis take there, BT.
I know. And listen, there's a reason it's called a hot take. Right.
I disagree with this. I think Levis has a little more upside than Tannehill. He's on the downhill, and he's not a good quarterback anymore. But BT, I wish our boy was here so we can give him some credit. But the wise words of Crenshaw, this is the worst part of the show because it's the end. Tell everybody where we can find you on social media and what you got cooking.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Brown Chubby Bear. As everyone knows, I comment. I'm pretty available. If you want to talk about football, obviously the Texans specifically. Funny today that my most popular post was about the Jets with the Aaron Rodgers meme that I posted. Weird that it wasn't Texans related, but it is what it is. I'm all over social media. I'm on Facebook with as well. I've joined a couple groups, so you can find me there. Definitely look at the new website, fanbattlesports.com. I had an article up just a few days ago, and I have some interesting videos. So if you haven't seen them yet, my last one was the grading of the 2021 draft class on YouTube. Check out the Texans Fan Battle Podcast YouTube channel if you're watching this on Facebook or Twitter.
Yes, guys, subscribe. You can find me at A1 Day One Texans. Tomorrow, me and my boy, like I said at the beginning of the show, me and my boy Crenshaw, my A1 since day one, going to be live at the draft. We're going to try to get a live draft party going with BT. We're thinking about getting at the Brick House KC. So if you're in Kansas City, you want to kick it with some cool guys, talk football, we'll be there. So check it out. Like BT said, I have a couple articles as well as he does, but mine's all NFL draft. So you make sure you check that at fanbattlesports.com and find me everywhere at A1 Day One Texans. Where if I don't like you, I just ignore you. I ain't got time to put up with your bullshit. And then you can find the podcast anywhere. Texans Fan Battle. Guys, again, subscribe. We cannot do this without you. So click that bell, get some notifications. And until next week, have a good one, guys. And hopefully we're not pulling a crapshoot at the draft. Have a good night.
Go Texans.